I can't believe it! The Roman Empire is collapsing! Dude, what are you talking about? The Roman Empire is chilling. Huh? Are you blind? Rome is literally on fire! Relax, this is just a mild inconvenience. See, the Roman Empire is fine. Wait, what? See, most people think that Rome ended when the Western Roman Empire fell in 476 AD, but that's only half the story. In the East, the Roman Empire didn't just survive, it thrived for nearly another 1,000 years, with its capital at Constantinople. Historians would later call the state the Byzantine Empire, but the people living there never stopped calling themselves Romans. This is the story of the Roman Empire that refused to die. When the Western Roman Empire fell in 476 AD, it looked like Rome was finished. The city was in ruins, its last emperor was deposed, and the West collapsed into chaos. But here's the thing, the Roman Empire didn't actually end. See, back in 395 AD, Emperor Theodosius divided the empire in half between his two sons, Arcadius ruling the east and Honorius ruling the west. This split wasn't like a divorce though, they were still part of the same loving Roman family. They just split the responsibilities between two emperors to make things a little easier to handle. So when the western half of the empire fell, the eastern half kept on going, and it was still purely Roman. The emperor still ruled with the same titles, Augustus or Imperator, the government still ran on Roman law, the army was still Roman. The people living there didn't call themselves Byzantines, they still called themselves Romans. The term Byzantine Empire is something historians would invent centuries later, but at the time, no one thought Rome had fallen, they thought the empire had simply shifted east. At the center of the surviving Roman Empire was a city like no other, Constantinople. Founded by Constantine the Great in 330 AD, it was built on top of the old Greek city of Byzantium. That's where the Byzantine Empire gets its name, by the way. What? This city would surpass Rome itself and be the empire's shiny new capital. It sat on a narrow strait connecting Europe and Asia, controlling trade between the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. This made the city mega wealthy. Merchants from across the known world passed through its harbors. Gold, grain, silk, spices, all of it flowed through Constantinople. But wealth wasn't its only advantage. Constantinople was also one of, if not the most, heavily defended cities in history. Massive layered stone walls on one side, and the sea protecting the rest of the city made it nearly impossible to capture. While cities in the west, such as Rome, struggled to defend themselves, Constantinople became a fortress city. Rich, secure, and epic. Over time, the Eastern Roman Empire began to look a little different from the Rome of old. Latin had been the main language of the Roman Empire for centuries, but in the East, Greek was already widely spoken, so it gradually replaced Latin as the empire's main language. Roman traditions blended with Greek culture and Eastern influences, and one of the biggest forces shaping this new Roman world was Christianity. Whereas the Western Roman Empire struggled with the shift from Rome's pagan pantheon, Christianity was already deeply rooted and well established in the East. Major cities like Constantinople, Antioch, and Alexandria weren't just important politically, they were the centers of Christian thought. This new religion helped keep the empire united. By 527 AD, the Roman Empire was stable, wealthy, and secure behind the walls of Constantinople. And that same year, a new emperor took the throne. His name was Justinian. For him, stability was not enough. He didn't want the Roman Empire to simply exist. He wanted to reclaim the old glory Rome once had. His goal was simple, but incredibly ambitious. Restore Roman control over the old western provinces, and reclaim the city of Rome itself. But before he could ever think about reclaiming the West, Justinian had to face a powerful enemy in the East, the Sassanid Empire. The Sassanids ruled Persia and had been Rome's greatest rival for centuries. Their empire was wealthy, well-organized, and just as ambitious as Rome itself. Almost immediately after Justinian became emperor, war broke out in the eastern frontier. This is where a rising young general named Flavius Belisarius first proved himself. Fighting the Sassanids in Mesopotamia, Belisarius showed discipline and big-brain moves, even winning a major victory when he was outnumbered. After years of war, Justinian secured a crucial peace with Persia, buying time and stability in the east. With the eastern frontier temporarily secure, Justinian could finally turn to the west. But in 532 AD, just 5 years after Justinian became emperor, Constantinople erupted into chaos. The population was angry over high taxes and corruption, which led to massive riots known as the Nika Revolt. The rioters burned a lot of the city to the ground, declared support for a rival emperor named Hypatius, and they came super close to overthrowing Justinian himself. Justinian was just about ready to flee the city, but his wife, Empress Theodora, convinced him to stay and fight, famously saying, "Purple is the noblest burial shroud." She'd rather die as an empress than live in exile. So Justinian stood his ground. He sent Belisarius and the imperial troops to forcefully put an end to the revolt. An estimated 30,000 people were dead, but Justinian was still emperor. The Nika Revolt left Constantinople in ruins. Instead of rebuilding modestly, Justinian did the most Roman thing possible. He rebuilt bigger. The centerpiece of this rebuilding was the Hagia Sophia, a massive church unlike anything the world had ever seen. Completed in just 5 years, its enormous dome symbolized Roman engineering and Christian power at the time. Justinian was impressed by Belisarius' victories against the Sassanids and his loyalty during the Nika riots. So when the emperor decided it was finally time to reclaim lost Roman lands, he placed his trust in Belisarius, appointing him as commander of the Western campaign. The first target was North Africa, controlled by the Vandals. Once a powerful Germanic kingdom, the Vandals had grown weak, divided, and unpopular with the local population. In 533 AD, Belisarius sailed west with a relatively small Roman force of around 15,000 troops. What followed was nothing short of astonishing. Belisarius defeated Vandal armies in a series of rapid engagements, and soon enough, he captured Carthage, the jewel city of North Africa. In less than a year, the entire Vandal kingdom collapsed. North Africa, once one of Rome's richest provinces, was Roman again. For the first time in over half a century, a lost western province had been reconquered. Justinian's dream to reclaim the West was no longer just a dream. With North Africa back under Roman control, Justinian set his sights on the biggest prize of all, Italy, the home of Rome itself. At this time, Italy was ruled by the Ostrogoths, a Germanic kingdom that had replaced Roman rule in the West. But here's an important thing to keep in mind. The Ostrogoths didn't see themselves as anti-Roman. They preserved Roman laws, worked with the Roman Senate, and governed from Italian cities like Ravenna and Rome. But after the death of the Ostrogoth king Theodoric the Great, their kingdom spiraled into chaos. And when a pro-Roman queen named Amalasuntha was overthrown and murdered, Justinian had the perfect excuse to invade Italy. In 535 AD, Justinian once again entrusted this campaign to his most talented general, Belisarius. With a small but elite force of 7,500 men, Belisarius landed in southern Italy and moved quickly. City after city fell to him. Sicily, Naples, then, in 536 AD, he took the greatest prize of all, Rome itself. This was a massive symbolic victory. The dream of restoring the Roman Empire was coming true. Belisarius then continued north, taking the Ostrogothic capital of Ravenna and the wealthy city of Milan, completing the reconquest of Italy. But holding on to Italy proved to be much harder than reconquering it. The Ostrogoths regrouped and launched counterattacks against the Romans. Belisarius was constantly forced to rush between cities, lifting sieges and defeating armies in battle. Wherever Belisarius was present, Rome held. Wherever he wasn't, things fell apart. And in 540 AD, Justinian recalled Belisarius from Italy because he feared Belisarius was growing too powerful. The war dragged on far longer than Justinian expected, draining money and manpower. To make things worse, war with the Sassanids resumed, spreading the army thin. In the coming decades, Rome eventually held on to Italy and its eastern provinces, but at a great cost. Cities were ruined, the countryside was depopulated, and the economy collapsed. Despite saving the empire again and again, Belisarius' relationship with Justinian grew complicated. Belisarius was too successful. He was wildly popular with the army, respected by the civilians, and had conquered more territory than anyone else had in generations. This made Justinian nervous. He thought Belisarius would eventually try to overthrow him, even though history shows that Belisarius was actually a pretty loyal guy. So Belisarius was accused of corruption and he was imprisoned. He would eventually be released, but he never again commanded armies the way he once had. And so Rome's last great general faded quietly into the background. As if endless wars were not enough, a different disaster struck. In 541 AD, a deadly outbreak swept through the empire. This was the Plague of Justinian, one of the first recorded pandemics in history. It spread rapidly through trade routes, especially in dense cities like Constantinople. At its peak, tens of thousands were dying per day in the capital alone. The The plague killed millions across the empire, and around a third of the entire population of Europe. Fields went unworked, the army shrank, and tax revenue collapsed. Even Justinian himself caught the disease, and he barely survived. What a disaster. By the end of Justinian's reign in 565 AD, the Roman Empire looked impressive on a map, reaching its territorial height. But beneath the surface, it was exhausted. Decades of war had drained the treasury, the army was stretched thin across 3 continents, and plague had devastated the population. Justinian had restored much of Rome's former glory, but at a cost the empire could not afford. In 568 AD, a Germanic people known as the Lombards invaded Italy from the north. The Roman Empire simply didn't have the manpower or money to stop them, so one by one, Roman cities fell. The empire managed to hold on to a few key territories, such as Ravenna, parts of southern Italy, Sicily, and the city of Rome itself. But the dream of a fully restored Western Roman Empire was over. While the Roman Empire struggled in the west, the Sassanid Empire remained a powerful rival in the east. In 602 AD, the Roman Empire fell into civil war after Emperor Maurice was overthrown and executed. The Persians used the chaos as an excuse to invade. They swept through Roman territory, capturing Syria, Palestine, and Egypt, some of the richest provinces in the empire. Soon enough, Persian armies stood just miles from Constantinople itself. For a moment, it looked like the Roman Empire was truly finished. In 610 AD, a new emperor took the throne, Heraclius. At first, things looked hopeless. The treasury was empty, the army was shattered, and the Persians controlled half the empire. But instead of losing hope, Heraclius locked in. He completely reorganized the army and personally led his troops deep into Persian territory. For years, Heraclius battled the Sassanids, and by 628 AD, all of Rome's eastern territories were reconquered. Oh yeah, the Roman Empire is back, baby! But after years of war, both the Roman and Persian empires were exhausted, which left the door wide open for an entirely new empire to rise. In 7th century Arabia, the prophet Muhammad is said to have received his holy revelations, leading to the creation of a new monotheistic religion, Islam. After the prophet's death, the Arabs were united under Islam, and their armies moved with shocking speed. Within a couple decades, they conquered Palestine, Syria, Egypt, and North Africa, and they took over the entire Sassanid Persian Empire. The Arabs even laid siege against Constantinople itself, but the Romans held them off, partly thanks to a strange new invention, Greek fire, basically a medieval flamethrower that could waste any invading ships. Still, Rome had lost a huge amount of territory in the east. From this point on, the empire would never again be a Mediterranean superpower. Surprisingly, after centuries of crisis, the empire would eventually manage to find new strength. From the 9th to 11th centuries, the Eastern Roman Empire experienced a revival known as the Macedonian Renaissance. The empire stabilized its borders, the economy recovered, art, education, and law flourished once more. Under emperors like Basil II, Rome crushed its enemies, including the Bulgarians, asserting control over the Balkans and expanding its territory. Things were looking up, but this would be the last great era for Rome. In 1054, a growing divide between the Western and Eastern theology, language, culture, and politics led to the Great Schism. The Roman Pope and Patriarch of Constantinople excommunicated each other's churches, leading to the split of Catholicism and Orthodox Christianity. Also, a new enemy rose in the east, the Seljuk Turks. They converted to Islam and then later invaded the Roman Empire. In 1071, the Turks defeated Roman forces at the Battle of Manzikert, allowing them to take most of Anatolia. Desperate, the Romans called on Western Europe for help. In response, the Crusades were launched, allowing the Romans to reclaim some of their lost territory. But relations between the East and West were bitter and distrustful, and in 1204, the unthinkable happened. During the Fourth Crusade, Western Crusaders turned on Constantinople. The city was sacked, burned, and looted. Churches were stripped, relics were stolen, and the population was massacred. Although the city eventually would be retaken, the damage was irreversible. The Eastern Roman Empire was a shadow of its former self. By the 13 and 1400s, the Eastern Roman Empire was basically just the city of Constantinople and a bit of surrounding land. And a new power now dominated the region, the Ottoman Turks, and they closed in on the Romans. In 1453, Sultan Mehmed II launched a final assault on Constantinople. Cannons battered the ancient walls, and after weeks of fighting, the city fell. The last Roman emperor, Constantine XI, died in the streets while defending the city. After more than 2,000 years, the Roman Empire was finally gone. The Roman Empire's long history was effectively ended in 1453, but Constantinople itself continued on as Istanbul, becoming one of Europe's biggest cities and the center of a new empire. And in Western Europe, the fall of the Eastern Roman Empire led to the Renaissance by triggering the migration of Greek scholars bringing with them Roman texts to the West. Rome's legacy never disappeared though. Its laws shaped modern governments, its churches shaped Christianity, and its language, culture, and art shaped Europe and the world.